Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Wisdom. So far, I've been your host, Zerietti, and this week we're mixing things up a little bit and covering six extinct organisms and one extant organism, as opposed to the usual six extant, one extinct, just because I wanted to switch things up. The first animal of the week is Gigantopithecus, which is a genus of large extinct apes represented by a single species, Gigantopithecus blacki, which lived throughout Asia during the Pleistocene epoch. The species is only known from fairly fragmentary remains, consisting of a handful of lower jaws, partial humerus, and over 2,000 teeth that have been uncovered throughout China, Vietnam, Thailand, and Indonesia. The first specimens were found by the German-Dutch paleontologist J. H. R. von Koningswald in Chinese drugstores between 1935 and 1939, where they were known as dragon's teeth. The teeth, though incredibly large, have a few similarities to human teeth, and this has led some paleomorphologists to speculate humans might have had giant ancestors, and that Gigantopithecus represented some early form of hominid. Excuse me. Genomic evidence has shown it to be instead closer allied with orangutans and classified within the subfamily Pongidae. Based on this evidence, it is estimated that from remains we do have, Gigantopithecus would have reached heights of 9 to 10 feet when standing upright and weighed around 440 to 660 pounds, placing it firmly as the largest ape known to have ever lived. In life, Gigantopithecus would have inhabited evergreen or bamboo forests, where they would have traveled alone or possibly in small groups in search of food in the form of stems, roots, fruits, bamboo, and tubers. Gigantopithecus themselves may have been rarely preyed upon by tigers, canines, hyenas, and the large saber-toothed cat Megatherion. Gigantopithecus largely disappears from the fossil record around 300,000 years ago after cooler temperatures in the region largely eliminated the forests upon which it depended for food. There are some possible remains suggesting that they might have survived in isolated pockets until 100,000 years ago. Next up is Mosasaurus, which is the type genus of the Mosasaurus, an extinct group of aquatic squamate reptiles that lived from around 82 to 66 million years ago during the Campanian and Maastrichtian stages of the late Cretaceous period. The earliest fossils of Mosasaurus known to science were found as skulls in a chalk quarry near the Dutch city of Maastricht in the late 18th century, and were initially thought to have been the bones of crocodiles or whales. One particular skull, discovered around 1780, was seized by France during the French Revolutionary Wars for its scientific value and given the nickname Great Animal of Maastricht. In 1808, naturalist Georges Cuvier concluded that it belonged to a giant marine lizard with similarities to modern lizards, but otherwise unlike any known living animal. However, Cuvier did not designate a scientific name for the new animal. This was done by William Daniel Conenberg in 1822 when he named it Mosasaurus in reference to its origin in fossil deposits near the Meuse River. Most of the more common Mosasaurus species, such as M. missouriensis and M. limoneri, measured around 20 to 30 feet in length, with one exceptionally large species, M. hoffmanni, reaching estimated lengths of over 55 feet, ranking it amongst the largest aquatic reptiles to ever exist. The skull of Mosasaurus was equipped with robust jaws capable of swinging back and forth and strong muscles capable of powerful bites using dozens of large teeth designed for cutting prey. Its forelimbs were shaped into robust paddles to steer the animal underwater. Its tail was long and ended in a downward bend with a paddle-like flute. Mosasaurus was a predator, possessing excellent vision to compensate for its poor sense of smell. It also had a higher metabolic rate, suggesting it was endothermic, which is an adaptation seldom seen among squad mates. Continents where Mosasaurus fossils have been found include North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, and Antarctica. This distribution encompasses a wide range of oceanic climates, including tropical, subtropical, temperate, and subpolar climates. Mosasaurus was a common large predator in these oceans and was positioned at the top of the food chain, where it ate anything it could take down, including bony fish, sharks, cephalopods, birds, and other marine reptiles, including sea turtles, plesiosaurs, and other mosasaurs. Mosasaurus was wiped out by the Chicxulub asteroid impact that catalyzed the KPG extinction event some 66 million years ago. Triceratops is an extinct genus of herbivorous ceratopsid dinosaur that first appeared during the late Maastrichtian stage of the late Cretaceous period around 68 million years ago in what is now North America. Bearing a large bony frill, 3 horns atop the skull, and a large 4-legged body resembling that of a rhinoceros, Triceratops is one of the most recognizable of all dinosaurs and the most well-known ceratopsid. It was also one of the largest ceratopsids, measuring around 30 feet long and 13 tons in weight. The first named fossil specimen now attributed to Triceratops is a pair of brown horns attached to a skull roof, found by George Lyman Canyon near Denver, Colorado in the spring of 1887. This species was sent to Ornithologist Charles Marsh, who believed that the formation from which it came dated back to the Pliocene, and that the bones belonged to a particularly large and unusual bison, which he named Bison alticornis. The Triceratops holotype was discovered in 1888 from the Lance Formation in Wyoming, USA, by a cowboy named Edmund B. Wilson, who had been startled by the sight of the monstrous skull poking out of the side of a ravine. He tried to recover it by throwing a lasso around one of its horns. When it broke off and sent the skull tumbling to the bottom of the cleft, Wilson brought the horn to his boss, the rancher and avid collector Charles Anthony Guernsey, who happened to show it to fossil hunter John Bell Hatcher, who proceeded to locate and salvage the skull, which he then brought to Charles Marsh to formally describe. The holotype was the first named Ceratops horribus, and then further preparation uncovered the third nose horn. Marsh changed his mind and gave the piece the generic name Triceratops, meaning three-horned face, accepting his Bison alticornis as another species of ceratops. An earlier specimen, also recovered from the Lance Formation, was named Agathomus by Edward Drinker Cope in 1872. He originally identified it as a hadrosaur, and this specimen consisted of only postcranial remains, is now considered to be an example of Triceratops. Over the next 2 centuries, 17 species of Triceratops were named from remains found throughout Colorado, Wyoming, North South Dakota, Montana, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. However, only 2 species, T. horridus and T. porosus, are considered valid today. In life, Triceratops would have utilized its beaked mouth, to feed mostly upon shrubs, cycads, palms, and other plant life. They would have been one of the most numerous large herbivores throughout its range, sharing its environment with unrelated herbivorous dinosaurs such as Mosasaurus, Thescaliosaurus, Struthiomimus, Anzu, Denversaurus, and Ankylosaurus. Other marginous affiliates like Pachycephalosaurus, Torosaurus, and Leptoceratops, and carnivores such as Dakotaraptor, Aceraptor, Stenonychosaurus, and the pterosaur Quetzalcoatlus, as well as the aquatic reptile Mosasaurus and the infamous Tyrannosaurus rex. Triceratops and its relatives were wiped out by the Chicxulub impact that catalyzed the KPG extinction event some 66 million years ago. Next up is our invertebrate of the week, being Ceratargus, which is a genus of lichid trilobite which lived during the Middle Devonian period around 400 million to 385 million years ago. Fossils of Ceratargus have been found throughout most of mainland Europe, as well as part of North Africa, chiefly Morocco. Like many other trilobites, it is thought Ceratargus was chiefly a bottom feeder, scuttling along the ocean floor in search of carrion, algae, and other bits of food. Measuring around 2 to 6 inches in length, the body is comprised of 3 distinctive tagmata, which are sections, including the cephalon, which was the head, the thorax, which is the body, and the pygidium, which is the tail, or pygidium. I can never pronounce that word. The exoskeleton is comprised of calcite and calcium phosphate minerals and a lattice of chitin that covers the dorsal surface of the trilobite and curled around to the lower edge to produce a small fringe called a doublier. The Ceratargus family displays many bizarre and prominent features not often seen amongst other trilobite taxon, including tall eye stalks sporting complex compound eyes, large genial head spines, pygidial tail spines, sharp pleural side spines, many of which were covered in small thorn-like projections along the lengths of the spines. The most recognizable feature, however, is the pair of large, inchly curved horns that led on the head that are reminiscent of those found in modern-day sheep, antelope, and goats. The purpose of these horns and the extensive spines is uncertain, but it is believed they may have acted as territorial defense and display organs, as well as protection from numerous aquatic predators at the time, including fish, mollusks, and other arthropods. Next up is Smilodon, which is a genus of extinct macrodonts, which is a genus of the extinct macrodont subfamily of felids. It is one of the most famous prehistoric mammals and the best known saber-toothed cat. Although commonly known as a saber-toothed tiger, it is not closely related to the tiger or any modern-day cat. Smilodon lived in the Americas during the Pleistocene epoch, some 2,500 million years, 2.5 million years ago and 10,000 years ago. The first remains of Smilodon consist of various teeth and bits of mandible, and were found in the caves near the small town of Lago Santa Minas Gerais, Brazil, by Danish naturalist Peter Wilhelm Lund and his assistants in 1839. Lund initially believed these belonged to hyena, which he named Hyena neogenea. However, after more complete remains were later uncovered, he concluded the fossils instead belonged to extinct genus of felid, which he thought was transitional to hyenas, and he initially wanted to name it Hyenodon, only to find out said name had recently been given to another prehistoric predator, so Lund instead named it Smilodon populator in 1842. In the nearly 200 years since then, Smilodon fossils have been found throughout South Central North America from as far south as Argentina to as far north as Alberta, Canada, with the most complete remains being found and known from La Brea tar pits in Southern California. 3 species are recognized today: S. gracilis, S. fatalis, and S. populator. The 2 latter species were probably descended from S. gracilis, which itself probably evolved from Megatherion. Overall, Smilodon was more robustly built than any extant cat, with its particularly well-developed forelimbs and exceptionally long upper canine teeth. Its jaw had a bigger gape than that of modern cats, and its upper canines were slender and fragile, being adapted for precise killing blows. S. gracilis was the smallest species, measuring around 120 to 220 pounds in weight. S. fatalis was a bit bigger, weighing around 350 to 600 pounds in weight, and measuring at a height of around 3 feet 3 1/4 feet tall at the shoulder. Both of these species are mainly known from North America, but remains from South America have been attributed to them. S. populator is solely from South America and was the largest species, measuring around 485 to 960 pounds in weight and stood around 4 feet tall at the shoulder. In life, Smilodon mostly lived in small familial prides consisting of a monogamous breeding pair and their offspring of various ages. Depending on the region, Smilodon dwelled throughout both open and forested habitats, and they were primarily ambush predators which would work as a group to hunt and bring down large game such as bison, tapirs, camels, horses, deer, ground sloths, toxodons, and even younger informed proboscideans and glyptodons. After much of the American megafaunal herbivores died out, so did Smilodon, with the last of these cats surviving in Chile until around 10,000 years ago. Next up is Megalodon, which is an extinct genus of mackerel shark that lived approximately 23 to 3.6 million years ago during the Miocene and Pliocene periods. It was formerly thought to be a member of the family Lamidae and a close relative of the great white shark. However, it is now classified in the extinct family Otodontidae, which diverged from the great white sharks during the early Cretaceous period. Its genus placement is still debated, authors placing it either Carcocrales, Megalosarcus, Otodus, or Procaracharodon. This is because traditional fossils have been found showing Megalodon is the final chronospecies of a lineage of giant sharks, originally of the genus Otodus, which evolved during the Paleocene epoch. Fossils of Megalodon, chiefly its teeth, have been found throughout the world, with reports spanning back to the Renaissance period. While regarded as one of the largest and most powerful predators to ever have lived, Megalodon is only known for fragmentary remains, and its appearance and maximum size are uncertain. Scientists differ on whether it would have been more closely resembled a stockier version of a great white shark, or if it looked more like a basking shark or even a sand tiger shark. Most estimates of Megalodon's size are extrapolated from the teeth, and the maximum length estimates are around 45 to 65 feet, with a more conservative estimate placing the shark around 35 feet long. Estimates suggesting their large jaws could exert a bite force of 108,500 to 182,200 newtons, which were perfect for breaking through the chest cavity and puncturing the heart and lungs of prey. As such, it mostly targeted large animals such as whales, dolphins, seals, and sea turtles. The monster shark itself was not free from competition or even predation from predatory cetaceans such as Leviathan, macroraptorial sperm whales, and possibly even smaller ancestral killer whales. Ultimately, Megalodon faced extinction as a result of climate change. The onset of the ice ages led to a reduction in the diversity of baleen whales and a shift in their distribution towards polar regions, which resulted in the Meg's primary food source being fairly restricted. This, coupled with lowering of the sea levels, resulting in loss of warm, suitable nursery areas for Megalodon, eventually led the giant shark to die out around 3.5 million years ago. And the extant animal of the week is the Antarctic prion, which is known as the dove prion or the Totorore in Maori. It is the largest of the prions, which is a genus of small petrels native to the Southern Ocean. Body measures around 11 inches in length, and the wingspan is around 6 to 8 inches. Its underparts are white, and the upper parts are blue-gray. They sport a dark M across the back to its wingtips. They have white eyebrows, blue-gray bills, and blue feet. They also have a gray wedge-shaped tail with a black tip. On the wings, the greater coverts are near black, and like all prions, the Antarctic prion eats primarily zooplankton, which it obtains by filtering water through the upper bill. It breeds during the summer with nesting colonies on the Auckland Islands, Heard Islands, Macquarie Island, Scott Island, South Georgia and the South Sandwich Islands, South Orkney Islands, South Shetland Island, Khorsett Islands, and the Kerguelen Islands. The nests are somewhat concealed in shallow burrows, usually dug into the soil. The mother deposits a single cream-colored egg, which will be incubated by both parents for a period around 50 days until hatching. The chick remains with its parents for another 50 days until fledging and setting off on its own, and the average lifespan of an Antarctic prion is 10 to 20 years. As always, take care to my guys, gals, non-binary pals.